hello Kat, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
What have you been up to so far this fine rainy day in Glasgow?
Actually had another interview this morning, which is nice considering it's our 1 year anniversary for Queens of Noise today.
So was it this time last year exactly? You did the
This
festival.
time last year exactly.
Was that in Mango?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you doing Mango again this year?
Yeah, it's going to be in Mango again.
Good stuff. How has it kind of blown up from last year? Has it changed? Is it?
Oh, it's just
kinda
absolutely
grown a bit?
taken off. Like, after last year, there were so many people like, oh, are you going to do this again? Or can I be involved? Like, we actually had people messaging us being like, can I volunteer with you? Or people being like, can I use you for my dissertation? Like, can I interview you? And we're like, who? Me? Yeah, of course you can. So it's just been really nice. Like, people got excited about it. Like, getting people on board without having to, like, beg people to come anymore.
Have you got a bigger team now? Is it kind of grown over?
Nope. Still
Just
me
you
and Hannah. Yep, holding the fort down.
Who kind of does what? Do you kind of divvy up the work evenly?
We're pretty much 50-50 just on everything. Like, it just depends on who's busiest at the time. Like, for example, at the minute, like, I've got my dissertation due, so Hannah's been picking up a lot of the stuff that I can't get. But if she's really busy with uni or has deadlines, then I'll pick up the pace. So it just depends on who's busy and who's not.
Kind of go back and forth.
Yeah,
with
totally.
them
But like
as
all the
work
big
goes.
decisions we make together.
Yeah. When did you first start the planning for the second one? When did you first start the work for it?
I think we had our first official business meeting probably like October time. Like, we went out for drinks and we were both like, I've got ideas. Are you ready? Are you ready to start this again? We're like, oh, fucking hell, here we go. So probably about October.
Like 6 months before?
Yeah.
What kind of starts in October? What's the kind of the beginning?
Oh, it just started being like, what do you want to see this year? Like, I think a lot of other conferences we go to, there's lots of the same panels every year. Like, I don't want to go and you teach me how to use Instagram. Like, I'm 21, I know how to use Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, what do I want to see? I want to see, like, more inclusive panels, like, people that are speaking about gender, like, talking about the club scene, like, all kind of stuff that we're trying to tackle is, like, things that are kind of getting missed out at the minute. It was basically just, like, we went and, like, asked a bunch of our pals, like, what do you want to hear people talk about? And then we'll go find it and let you listen.
That's a good way to do it though, because then you find
Yeah,
out
totally.
exactly what people are wanting.
Exactly, like, it was just a case of, like, going on nights out with your pals and then just kind of, like, sneakily asking them
Slow-
questions. Yeah, you just gotta be, like, so they're totally honest with you and you're like, all right, cool.
In business mode at all times.
All times.
So what sort of panels do you have coming up for this year's one? What's on the cards?
We've got actually a lot of panels this year, so I will actually have a little look at them now so that I've got them all. But we've got, like, a ticketing workshop, which I think is really cool. So it's like, ticketing's like a world that people just don't even know exists, but it's like a massive backbone to, like, all live events. You need a really strong ticketing team. We've got a physical music vendor session, so about, like, vinyl and cassette, because obviously it's coming back. Like, people love to have, like, tangible.
I think people like physical things, yeah.
Yeah,
They
totally.
like to have I mean, we're in your living room at the moment and there's a big shelf of vinyl.
Oh
over
yeah,
in the
like,
corner there.
I love having vinyls. They just feel so personal. Like, Spotify is great. I love Spotify, but I also really love to own something if it's, like, something really personal, like an album that you just love. It's really great to have it physical copy as well.
What sort of stuff have you got on the shelf over there?
Oh,
What's
what do I
taking
have
about-
over there? I've got a big mixture over there. I've got Susie Quattro, Joan Jett, I've got, like, Whitesnake, you name it. I think most of my albums actually are all secondhand. I've only got, like, 2 first-hand ones. One of them is Prince because I had to. It was a limited edition and it was silver and beautiful and I had to buy it.
What sort where about do you kind of go to buy the vinyls? Are you just record shops or?
Yeah, usually just record shops. So, like, originally I'm from Fife, so Groucho's in Dundee is my hometown. Just the shop. Like, just living there, like, to the extent that they gave me a loyalty card.
Really?
You can get, like, stamps, and then after you have 10 stamps, they'll give you, like, £10 off. So I would just
That's
go.
pretty good.
Like, I've spent hundreds of pounds in Groucho.
Wait, so what do you have to do to get a stamp? Just every time you go there and buy something, you get a.
Pretty much, I think it's every time you spend over £10, they give you a stamp, and then at the end you get £10 off.
That's like, yeah, you're making about 10% for every 100. That's
Yeah,
pretty good.
totally. I know, it's such. Definitely go to Groucho's.
I
Keep
had
them in business.
I had a HMV card for probably about 2-3 years.
Oh, the discount you
then-
get is terrible.
And then at the end of that, so I was due a £50 like gift card, and the day I got due that was the day they went into administration.
Ouch.
And then like a year later, they were like, "Oh, you can have the gift card, but it's now only worth a tenner because we've had to take down the value of it because it was like
That's harsh.
3 years of like
That's harsh.
buying books and like all that stuff from HMV and
No, I'm at the point
done
where,
for
like,
it.
I've got, like, a Groucho's mug.
the graduate just with the logo on it.
Yeah, it's really
Pretty cool.
good. But it's such a nice place. Like, you can go in and request that they, like, play a vinyl for you. If you're like, oh, I'm not sure what this sounds like, they've got, like, a record player at the front of the front of the shop. You can like go in and like try stuff out and be
That's
like,
what I really like about Asai in
this.
Edinburgh as well.
Yeah, like it's so nice. Like they're very like chill. It's like being in someone's living room and you're like allowed to buy stuff.
Do they ever do the in-stores as well? Because I think is there an Asai in Edinburgh as well?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Do they do the in-stores and stuff there?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually not been to the Edinburgh one, but
It's good. It's worth checking out.
yeah, I will make a point of going in. The only Edinburgh one I think I'm comfortable with is like Vinyl Villains. I go there quite a lot as well.
That's good.
They're so cool. They have so much stuff.
When did you move down here then, if you're from Fife originally?
So I actually only moved to Glasgow in September, but for the first 3 years of uni, so I'm in 4th year now, first 3 years of uni I lived in Ayr, which is where my course is, so not exactly a musical centre.
What are you studying though?
I'm a commercial music student at UWS. I travel to Glasgow like 3-4 times a week to go to gigs. Yeah, so it just made sense to move here, especially like working on lots of gigs here and like having lots of friends to go and see like at nights out and bands and all that kind of stuff. I was like, there's no point in travelling, I'll just stay here.
Were you always into music, or when did that kind of... Well, I know that when I moved down, I wasn't really into local music, and that only came once I moved away from home. Had you always been into local, or did it only start?
I think local music probably only started for me when I moved to uni. Before uni, I was like absolutely a classic rock girl. Like showed up to uni on my first day with my Led Zeppelin t-shirt, like I know everything. About a day later, I was like, oh fuck, there's like a whole other world that I had no idea about. Because obviously Fife, there's not really any live music. Like there's not really any venues. No
bands.
Must
be some bands have come out of Fife.
There's the occasional band that comes out of Fife, but you only realise about them once they don't play in Fife.
And there's like
once they've left, then they're like, oh yeah, I'm from there, and you're like, are you? I thought you were from like Edinburgh.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Once they moved to...
So it's a case of like once I moved to uni, I was like, oh damn, there's a lot of stuff out there. But then I was still in Ayr, so I just travelled to Glasgow all the time, and then just found them that way. Like, I think it helped a lot, like being on a course with loads of people that are from like Falkirk and Dumfries and everywhere else in between. So they were all bored and used to go to Glasgow all the time. So they'd be like, oh, check out this band, and I'd be like, oh, great.
It kind of just opens up a whole new world.
Yeah, totally. Everybody had like their own taste when they came, so I was like, who's this? Can I come?
Do you still kind of, although you're saying that you're kind of classic rock when you move down, is that still the sort of stuff you go for when you go into gigs? Or
oh, I think I would go to any gig.
Yeah.
It was just like, that was the only stuff I was like familiar with, because obviously like being in Groucho's and stuff, like I was buying loads of secondhand music. There was nothing in the charts that I was like, oh yeah, I really want to buy that. It was like I'd go into the shop and be like, Alice Cooper vinyl, that's coming home with me. But like if Katy Perry came on the radio, I'd be like, I'm not jamming with this.
Yeah, it's weird how like the music of, I don't know, maybe 40 years ago was all kind of regarded as classic that was big at the time.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Now there's seldom something that's kind of in the pop charts at the minute that kind of gets the same.
I know, it's
treatment.
weird. It's
maybe
like,
something like Kendrick or something like that is kind of...
Yeah, it's like I think I didn't start appreciating chart music until uni, which is weird because I was like studying a music course and you're supposed to be like, no, I have phenomenal taste. But then at that point I was like, actually you're allowed to like whatever you want. It doesn't matter if people think it's cool.
I feel like chart music's gotten a wee bit better as well though. I think the chart music of, I don't know, kind of 2005 to 2015.
I think everyone our age has like a soft spot for it now though. Like if you listen back to like, oh yeah, like you can listen to it and you're like, oh, that just reminds me of like that one time in high school when somebody did something stupid, or like you're in class and like, oh, just like these like crappy pop songs and you're like, they've got a little soft spot for me now.
Yeah,
at the time you hate them, but yeah, they grow on you.
That's the thing about music though, it's such a personal connection with like the same thing you were saying about the vinyls, how that's why you like having it for that personal connection. To take it back to Queens of Noise, you're also speaking about being interviewed quite a lot at the last couple of weeks because you're on the radio.
Yeah, we were.
You're on BBC Radio Scotland.
Absolutely delighted to be asked by Janice Forsyth to be on her like amazing show. We were like in the same chat as B Charlotte. Like it was crazy. Like she was in the Edinburgh thing. I was like sitting there with my headphones on, like, are you sure I'm supposed to be here? This is very scary. It's like never been in the radio before. I was like, does this light mean you can hear me talking? I was like, what if I need to sneeze? We were both just sat there like fidgeting. Me and Hannah were actually holding hands, like, are you sure this is okay? But it was very exciting. We got like cool little security passes and like escorted.
I saw the photo, yeah.
Oh, it was crazy. We took so many photos. It was like us taking selfies at this person's office, and they were all like, who are these girls and who let them in here?
Where about is that, the radio studios? Are they in Glasgow? Or?
Yeah, they're just right next to the Science Centre, like on the river. They've got a cracking view. Like the whole office is like all glass windows because you can just see like the whole of Glasgow. It's really cool.
And I think I've driven. Can you drive past it like on the motorway?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've driven past it before.
Big massive building that's got BBC Radio Scotland all over it.
What sort of stuff were you just chatting about Queens of Noise when you were on the radio? Or?
Yeah, we were literally just like, since we were in a chat with like a couple other people.
So who else was you said B Charlotte was?
B Charlotte, it was actually like basically like a chat about like women in music events, which was really cool. So it was lots of people and like the projects that they're working on.
Because what is it she's just hosted as well?
Yeah, she did like a songwriting workshop for female songwriters to basically like build confidence, the same sort of thing that we're trying to do, which was cool. So we could like compare and like be like, yeah, you're really great from wherever you are right now. But yeah, that was cool. So we basically just got to like tell lots of people about our event, which was crazy because it's still so small. Like it was basically just being like, yeah, this is what we're trying to do. These are the panels that we have. Please come. Thanks, bye.
But it'll keep growing year on year as well, though you're saying it's small at the minute. You must already have noticed a growth from last year in terms of the kind of attention.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy how many people have been like, wow, I'm so excited that you're back. And we're like, you're not a friend. You what? You're excited? We're excited now.
Who all have you got, or who's been announced so far for performing for it?
So we've announced all of our showcase acts, actually. We've got M. Woods, we have Goodnight Louisa, Freakwave, and the Homo Romantics.
That's the other thing I like about the bands that you choose, and the same with what you did last year, is that you don't just go for like Glasgow bands, you pull from all over Scotland.
Yeah, totally. I think the main thing about Queens of Noise is the fact that even though it's based in Glasgow, it's not designed to stay in Glasgow. I would love for it to grow.
Somewhere else?
Absolutely. Once it gets enough traction, we're going to spread out and go everywhere. Anywhere that will take us, we'll go there. But yeah, it's a case of like, it's not just about all the talent that's in Glasgow, because there's so much talent here, but Glasgow's such like a welcoming city that it's so important to pull people from other places to be like, look, they're doing amazing things too, like check them out, like see what they're doing, because like of course Glasgow's a hub, but it's important to like help other people thrive no matter what city they're from.
Do you think other bands maybe sometimes get a bit overlooked if they're not from Glasgow, like in the Scottish scene? Like if you look at a playlist like, what's the one on Spotify, is it Made in Scotland or something?
Yeah.
It's
like 95% Glasgow bands. Yeah, I think Glasgow probably has the most new bands coming out, but I think Edinburgh and Aberdeen, like even like Inverness, like there's bands popping up all over the place that are just, they're ready to get booked. They're just maybe not getting asked yet. But I think if people start really digging around and looking for them, they'll spring up in no time. Like
especially now when you've got the internet and it's so easy to interact with, you know what I mean?
I think it's a case of like once they've played one, even if it's a local show with a Glasgow band who've been on tour, then they'll instantly get more recognised. Like the Homo Romantics have recently played with the Ninth Wave, which is awesome. Like they're
and that's coming up, is it? Is that
they've either just played or are going to play
23rd, or it's 20.
You probably know better than me the Aberdeen
Aberdeen
scene.
So I'm quite
yeah,
keep an eye on
but no, like I saw that and I was like, that's so cool. Like obviously the Ninth Wave have like absolutely shot up, so it'll be such a cool opportunity for them to be like, look, we're here too. So I think it's really great for them to like boost their career.
Yeah, I mean they're doing Walt Disco, and they did Walt Disco as well. They
played
the Priory as well, didn't they?
Yeah,
didn't they come down and do that?
Yeah, they've done quite a lot of like local little Glasgow shows, but I think it'd be nice for them to get like build some more traction with like bigger bands and hopefully pull each other up rather than like.
Yeah, I mean that's always kind of the challenge as well, is that although I support them in Aberdeen, you get a lot of bands in Aberdeen that are good and always do the Aberdeen support slots, but it's then very tough for them to get good support slots in Glasgow. Yeah,
exactly. Like it's always nice to get support slots in your hometown, but it's much more valuable for them to get slots elsewhere.
You, in terms of doing panels as well, were you not on a panel a few weeks back at our event?
Yeah, so honestly it feels like months ago already, but we were
a lot's happened
so
in the last
honoured.
few weeks.
I know it's been such a crazy like few months, like it's just been so overwhelming, but we were like delighted to be asked to be part of Question Sessions, which is like another like conference music event in Glasgow. It's really nice because it's free, so like it's accessible for everyone. Like kids can go, which is really nice. Like I had this girl who was probably like 8 years old asking me questions, and I was like, it's really cool to see that you're here like doing what you want already. But yeah, so like we got asked to have like a little stall, and Hannah got to like speak to loads of people and like hand out all our business cards, and we got to speak to like all these like massive industry people. We were both like, this is crazy. And I was like honoured to be on one of the panels, like very scary.
What were you talking about on the panel?
It was basically like routes or pathways into the music industry. So like I was on a panel with people like Goldflake Paint, so like they're like a local like print magazine. Like they also have a blog as well, but along with like a lecturer from New College Lanarkshire and Caroline Burns, who was from That Sound. So she works with like underprivileged kids and like vulnerable groups and stuff to show them how to like record music and like using technology basically. So it was really cool, like all the different paths that people had. Like some people were educated, some people had no university experience whatsoever. And they were basically just like
group of people.
Yeah, they were. I think they just wanted like all the different ways that you can get into it to show people that you don't have to go down a certain path to be a viable option.
That's one of the good things about the music scene as well, at least at the local level, is that there isn't really, that doesn't matter, you know what I mean? It's everyone comes together in one community and it doesn't matter where you're from or your background or anything like that.
Yeah, totally. I think that was like the nicest thing about it. Like I was so scared, I'd never been on a panel before, and like obviously sitting next to a lecturer, like they're used to speaking to like huge rooms full of kids, and they were like, nope, it's absolutely fine, like squeezed me in between the two of them and they were like, yeah, you'll be fine, and like they were like chatting to me, and I was like, this was like the nicest way to do that, like to be with those people who made me feel comfortable. And afterwards they were like, yeah, you did so good. So it was just really nice to like be with people who were supportive of each other. And like since then I've like stayed in contact with them. Like they've all been like, oh, hope you're doing well, seeing that your event's going. And I'm like, oh, that's really nice of them to be like, to follow up on the connection that we made. So yeah, it was so lovely to be involved in that.
Have you got other stuff coming up as well, doing panels and interviews and things? So
oh, probably.
It must get quite stressful having to do all the, I mean, it's still the two of you, so like having to do all the PR and everything for it yourself and push it and organise everything.
Yeah, so just between the two of us, everything's been a bit crazy. Like if I look at my calendar, I think we've done like 3 or 4 interviews in the last week and a half. Like people are just like, oh, can I talk to you about this? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then I look at my diary and I'm like, I have an hour free in 2 weeks for you. Apart from that, I got nothing. But like it's lovely that people want to talk about it. Like it's just a case of pushing on and making the time. But like we're so honoured that people want to talk to us about it and they're interested. So
how did the showcase events go as well that you did? Was it called the showcase sets? What were they called?
They were called secret sets.
Secret sets.
Yeah, we had like secret headliners. So it was just to like be like, oh, we're still here. Like we're still kicking about.
I think it's a good way to build momentum as well going into the
big totally
event.
I think people were kind of ready for us to come back after that. They were like, are you gonna do a conference? And we were like, yeah we are. We're just teasing you. But no, it was a nice way to like, firstly because we're self-funded, it was a case of like, let's see if we can sell out some shows or at least make some money from them to pay for our venues and stuff.
I was going to ask about it as well, as how do you fund an event like this yourself?
SAS. straight up with SAS. Yeah, it's hard because being full-time students, you're not really eligible for any funding.
You can't. In what way? How does the funding work? Because there's someone
essentially
who
like, so there's tons of pots of funding. So like PRS, like all these kind of people, they want to give you money, especially for events like ours, because we're trying to make the local scene more inclusive. But they just, I don't know why it's like this, but for every single funding we try to apply for, we're not eligible because we're both full-time students.
That's annoying. That's very annoying.
Yeah, so like the first year was like really tough. This year, the fact that we did the secret sets is going to be a little bit less stressful.
It helps to
yeah, totally. Like it was good promotional thing anyway to get people excited, but it was also like, okay, here we go, lads. Let's sell some tickets so we can pay for this. But no, they went really well. It was so lovely, like to have people excited about it after like 7 months of silence. We just like dropped off the map because we were just shattered. We were like, no, I had enough, not doing that again. And then we were like, actually, I really miss it. We're coming back.
It's interesting to see as well, because you obviously had some of the acts that played the event last year doing the secret set.
Yeah, totally.
It's weird to see how far some of them have come.
I know,
since last year.
It was so lovely that we had swim school. Like I think they're actually the reason why we made them secret sets, because they had a show. I think it was just a week before the secret sets at King Tut's. Like they were doing one of the New Year's Revolution shows like as a support slot, and I was like, no, but guys, we need you to come back. Like you're like our main success story. I'm like, look how far you've come. Like you're signed, you've been on tour, you played Transmit. Like that's crazy. And I was like, I would be so honoured to be able to give you your first Glasgow headline show. And they were like, we'll make it work.
So how did the secret set work? Did you announce it like a few days before the headline was?
Yeah, it was literally like, I think it was the day after they played Tuts. I was like, oh, it's swim school are coming. But it was just like, we just thought we'd tease everyone and give them like fake names. So we asked them to like give themselves like a pseudonym or like some like a fake name. They ended up going for the Backstrokes.
The back? Oh, that makes...
Yeah, exactly. So everybody was like, who's that? I think I know who that is. And we were all like giggling, like, it's so obvious who this is. But like, DF can't stop us. Kick Tuts can't be like, oh, you're breaching the contract. I'd be like, well, I'm sorry. Have you heard of the Backstrokes before? No. It was just like our sneaky way to get around that. But we just decided to make them.
Did Gals not do that for, was it Voodoo's? I can't remember what they called themselves though.
Yeah, they did. I remember that show. Oh, I can't remember.
That wasn't as good though, because that wasn't a name that related to Gals at all.
Yeah, totally.
You don't have the clue.
We deliberately told them, we were like, oh, have fun with it. Like, come up with a fake name that you want, and we'll put it on all the posters and stuff. So it was just nice. Like, it was a little inside joke that we had. But
and you also had, well, was it Wives when they played the set, or was it Medicine? They weren't Medicine Cabinet at that point. That's like another success story from
yeah,
Queens
definitely.
last year.
We wanted to have them as well, but they were actually doing a Touch Revolution show as well, so they couldn't play. But yeah, so like the first showcase band, like it was their first ever Glasgow show when they were still Wives. It was also Swim School's first Glasgow show.
I didn't realise that either.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, to see how far they've grown already, it's mental. Like, I think it was just after they played Queens of Noise, they were like, nah, we're not going to be called Wives anymore. And I was like, why? But I love the name. But no, they've done like such cool things. And to have both of them play with Tenement TV like a week ago for International Women's Day, I was like, actually, yeah. Crazy. Like, I'm looking at them, I'm like, look at my babies.
Are they doing the Discovery Tour as well?
Yeah, they are.
It's weird, these bands.
I know, it's so mental. It's like looking at your pals and I'm like, I can't believe how far you've come. Like, I'm so proud of you.
That's the thing that's the music industry at the minute. It feels like bands can do so much in a year now.
I know.
Like, you can just go like that.
Growth is totally such a higher rate than it used to be. But no, it's been really great that people have like gone board and like supported them.
What are you looking for? What aspects are you looking for when you're picking a band to play the festival? Or the conference, rather?
I think it depends. It depends on the band. I think the lovely thing about having a showcase instead of a gig is the bands don't have to sound like a full lineup. They can just be... It's like putting a playlist on shuffle rather than having like a coherent playlist. You're allowed to have different genres and different styles altogether because it doesn't have to be a regular lineup. You can just have...
They don't have to match sonically, yeah.
Exactly. Like, it's just like people that we're like, I really believe in what you're doing. I love the sound you're making. And I think you deserve a boost. Those kind of people. It's like, it doesn't matter if they're already a little bit established, if it's their first show, like, if we think that they've got what it takes, but they just need somebody to like be like shining a light on them. Yeah, totally. Just people that were like, I will shout about what you're doing because I totally believe in it. So it's just a case of like, here they are,
nice
come and look at them.
Point where you can give someone a platform as well now.
Definitely.
You kind of feel like people always build to that point, don't they, where they can give someone an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a case of being like, we only have so much resources to share, but if we can give at least one person a chance to grow or get support or find management, like, then it's a total win. Is
it this year? Are you doing it over one day this year as well?
Yeah, we decided that two days was crazy.
I think one as well kind of gives more focus on the bands that are playing.
Yeah, totally.
And the people that are appearing at the conference and things
We had such a lovely turnout last year. It was just like the two of us having a full 2 days. Oh, and it was on St. Patrick's Day weekend, and it was the only weekend in March that it snowed. Like, everything that...
Did it snow that weekend?
Oh, yeah. We arrived at the venue on the Saturday morning, 9 a.m. It was snowing in the middle of March.
That's classic.
Yeah, so like everything that could have went wrong did. But everything was still fine and we still salvaged it. But it was like, just makes more sense to condense it because people lose interest. It's like having a kid in like a classroom for more than an hour. They're like fidgeting, like, oh, I want to go home, or like, oh, I want to do this. So it just made sense to like cram it into one day and just try and fill it as much as possible.
Yeah, especially with like all day festivals where it's like, Stag and Dagger or...
Yeah, totally. Like, if that was 2 days, the second day I'd be too hungover to go. Which is definitely what happened for Queens of Noise. There was like, we had loads of people who like went out to the football and were like, no, I can't come. So yeah, just makes sense to do it over one day. It's like having a birthday celebration over a weekend. You're like, half the troops are going to drop out.
Yeah. What else did you learn from last year? Putting it on last year? What else have you kind of knowledge have you taken and then applied to this year's event to make it better?
I think we've definitely narrowed like the market that we know we've tapped into. Like, we had people that were like already established, so like it was crazy to see the mix of people. So we had people who had no experience, were straight out of high school or were already in uni. We had like people who were already like established like musicians and songwriters and stuff. So like it was really lovely to see that there was like management who'd come along to like listen to the panels and like have a look at the showcase bands, because they were like, oh, you've obviously picked up on something here. So I think it was a case of we've kind of made it more professional, streamlined ourselves a bit more. Like, we knew that we were targeting a young audience, but we've tried to make it like
more of an industry event, maybe.
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So like we want to keep it informal and accessible to everyone, because there's nothing scarier than realising that somebody owns a whole company and you really want to talk to them.
But that's the best time to meet folk from the industry, is when it's at an informal event.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
chilled out and you can just have a chat with them, and it doesn't need to be so like,
exactly.
informal.
So the point is basically just like keeping it professional, but also like you can just sit down and have a cup of tea with someone and ask them questions, rather than being like absolutely terrified to be like, I've got a question, I'm really sorry, do you have like 10 minutes to talk to me? More a case of just like, oh hey, how are you? Like there's no backstage, there's no like special treatment. It's like if they're there, they'll talk to you.
Did you get quite a lot of industry folk kind of there last year?
Yeah, it was so nice. Like it was nice to like see people there, like people who already work for like big companies, or like, so for example Swim School, their management that they're with now, they came along to have a look at them
at Queen's of Noise.
Yeah, and consequently there they are with big management. Like it's crazy. So I'm like, it's so nice that people have like seen it and been like, okay, maybe I can like scout some talent here. We're obviously choosing the right people, which is really nice.
I was looking today as well, and there doesn't seem to really be, maybe I'm wrong, but I couldn't really see any other event that is like this that's going on in Scotland at the moment. Yeah,
that was kind of like, it basically started because I was like, actually started as a uni project, but we tried to like keep that on the down low, because then people are like, oh, students, okay. But yeah, so it started as like my third year project, and they were basically like, your challenge is to come up with a unique business idea. And it just kind of came from like having chats with people, and like actually the idea came to me in Subway in Ayr over a nice little BMT and a cup of Coke. I was like, okay, I'm ready, let's go. Let's make some changes.
Noted it down straight away.
Yeah, literally.
You're
like,
probably not going to forget an idea like that.
I know. It was just a case of like, right, something has to change. Like, I went to the Samos maybe a month after that, and I was like, okay, this is really scary. Everybody's very like looking down their nose at you, or you're like, oh, I'm too scared. Like, I don't have anything important to ask you. And that's when I met Hannah.
Is that when you met Hannah?
Yeah, met Hannah at the Samos.
So do you and Hannah don't go to... I thought you went to uni together.
No, Hannah actually, she was at college at the time, and I was in my third year of uni, but she was managing my boyfriend's band at the time. So I just kind of, actually we were told we would be friends. We kind of met each other and we were like, oh, I don't like you. I don't like you at all. And then about 20 minutes later, I asked her to be on one of the panels, and she was like, really? Me? And I was like, yeah, you're young, you've got industry experience. Like, I want people that are like approachable to everyone.
Ideas as well.
Yeah, of course. I don't want just the same people that are on all the panels. Like, there's always the same like 4 people that are on every single conference. And I'm like, I want to hear someone else's thoughts. And she was like really like taken aback by it. And then
with a different perspective as well.
Yeah, totally. But it was just, I think seeing how emotional she was about being asked. A couple of weeks later, I asked her to just help me run it, because I was like, this is totally getting out of hand for one person, and you obviously care about it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, initially it was going to be 3 days long and just me.
Oh.
Then my uni were like, okay, you're crazy. You can have 2 days and no more. And I was like, okay. And then had Hannah on board, which made it 10 times better. Yeah. But like, it was nice to have somebody else's ideas as well, because obviously like if it's just yours, sometimes you need somebody to be like, actually that's not great, or like, oh, this it'd be better if we did this. So like bringing her on board was amazing. Like,
you kind of get the nice balance, because you don't want it just to be one person's vision.
Yeah, of course.
But you also don't want it to be too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, you need that kind of...
Exactly. But it was really nice, because since she was at college, we had like totally different skill sets. So like if we'd been on the same course, it would have been like two...
And again, two completely different perspectives.
Yeah, totally. It was like at college, they teach you totally different things than what they teach you on my course, even though we both studied music. Like, just, it was really nice to have like fresh ideas and like, actually, oh, this would be better, or like little changes, or maybe, oh, this person would really suit that panel. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
It's like a testing board as well. You can test ideas off each other.
Yeah, totally. It's like yin and yang. Makes sense.
Yeah. Do you have like a plan going forward of how you want to keep expanding it? Like even in past this year's, like do you have quite an idea kind of mapped out in your head of how to keep growing it? Or
I don't think we have like a specific plan. We have, Hannah's kind of like my caretaker, to be honest. I have like tons of ideas, and as soon as I have one, I will start it. I will start it right away. I'll be like, okay, the venue's booked. I have emailed 10 people, and Hannah will come back after 2 weeks and not seeing me and being like, Kathryn, what on earth have you been doing? Who has been supervising you? So it's a case of like, she definitely helps me focus the ideas. But like, as soon as we're together, we're always like, oh, I've had an idea. And it happens to be the same idea every single time.
Really?
Yeah, like we'll be apart and then be like, oh, I've had a really good idea, I'll tell you when I see you. Like, we'll go for coffee and chat it out. And then I'm like, okay, you go first. And she's like, no, it's fine, you go. And then we both say it at the same time, and we're like, are you serious? Has this happened again? But it's just, yeah, so I think the main plan, we'd love to obviously eventually expand outside of Glasgow. But I think that's a few years away because we need to build like a strong connection here.
Would you do it as in, would you have an event in Glasgow and have an event somewhere else, or would you just move the festival about Scotland maybe a wee bit? Or?
I'm not sure. I think it depends on if we end up with a bigger team or not. Either way, even if it moves from city to city, it would be more like a tour rather than like moving house. Like wouldn't be a permanent move. It would be a case of like spreading the message.
Yeah, it kind of helps you reach a bigger audience as well.
Yeah, definitely. But I think like since it's such a unique thing, it would be really important to grow the audience elsewhere and like get the word out, because as soon as something starts, like it's just a case of causing a spark and then seeing how far it can grow. Like somebody actually asked me this in an interview last week, and I was like, I hadn't even thought about it before, and I just kind of like blurted out my mouth. I was like, I would love to have a festival stage.
What, like wide days or something, or you mean like a
no
what Electric Fields used to be? Have a stage
I don't know. I don't really know which festival it would be at. Like there's not like a particular festival in mind, but I'd love like a Queens of Noise stage. So in the same way that it doesn't have to be a coherent lineup of the same genre at the festival, I could just pick bands that I absolutely love that deserve to be on that stage that wouldn't get picked otherwise, and just be like, you get to play a festival. Go, run, do it.
You can give someone again that opportunity and that platform to do something.
Totally, like giving somebody a golden ticket. Like I would absolutely adore that. It's not going to happen for quite some time, 10 years maybe, but
it'd be very cool when it does.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That's something you've always kind of done though, like that, wanting to give people a platform, because you did it. You're obviously one half of Mouldy Soul as well.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of, for example, like the Pleasure Head show at Sneaky's.
Yeah.
Last year when you had, was it Fiends opened it, and then like Moonlight Zoo, and then Ormston's. Ormston's are the prime example from that. Yeah. Giving someone a platform.
Yeah, totally. It's just a case of like, if I've seen the talent there, I'm gonna try and help you. Like, it's the whole way to like grow, is like finding somebody else and giving them a hand, and then when you need a hand, they'll be like, oh yeah, you like boosted my sales or like helped me sell my merch. Like, of course I'll help you. It's not like I don't want favors. I just want people to grow and have like fair opportunities. How
do you find new bands then? Because I'm interested how you come upon a band like Ormston's, who are fairly wee. Are they from Leeds?
Yeah. They're actually, they've rebranded now.
I saw that they've started something new and changed the name and everything.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's a case of going to lots of gigs and then just chatting to people and then being like, oh, who do you like, or who do you listen to? I think Spotify also has a huge part to play, because
you just go to like the artist like recommendations,
daily
and stuff,
mixes, like related artists. I love listening to other people's playlists.
I think that's my main fault, is that I don't like playlists.
Oh, I love listening to other people's playlists. Like, see, if I always get in ruts of being like, oh, I've listened to this one artist for ages, or like I really need new music, but I get this every like 2 days. I'm like, I need new music, I need something else, I need something new and exciting. So I'll just go and be like, oh, can somebody make me a playlist of what they're interested in, or have you got any playlists that you recommend? Like, I don't like Spotify's pre-curated ones,
like your daily mixes and stuff.
I don't mind the daily mix because sometimes they're alright,
or like hot new bands or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are probably like the exception, like New Music Friday and like hot new bands, or like the indie list. But like, they're all going to be unattainable bands.
Yeah, I think the other thing with them is that a lot of its playlists have kind of become what radio used to be a wee bit, haven't they? Where you kind of have to have pluggers and stuff to get. Yeah,
totally.
Them.
Like you have to like request to get on them rather than just get picked because they like you.
I feel like it didn't used to be that way though. Like, I feel
definitely
like
didn't to start with.
It used to just get picked and put on it, which was probably a better way of.
Oh, definitely. Now it's like you have to email and be like, hi, so my band is like really good. Can you like put me on the playlist, please?
But no. When you do get put on a playlist, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good way for bands to grow. It's a shame that it's becoming a little bit more difficult to get there.
Yeah. How much of a role do you think streaming plays when you're picking bands? Or how much do you think it plays like in the industry in general when people are trying to choose bands for lineups? Has it got quite a big role? Or?
I think for us it's probably quite helpful just because we can like get a gist of what your sound is, because I think it's one of the unfortunate things about trying to book really small bands. Sometimes they're not even on Spotify, and you have to kind of just take a leap of faith and be like, are you on SoundCloud? Can I like listen to a demo? Like when we had Wives, for example, they didn't have any music out. They still don't.
They've changed quite a lot as well.
We asked them for months and months, can you send us a demo? Eventually we got like a wee transfer of like a phone recording, and we were like, yeah, sure.
That's fine.
Go for it, like whatever you want. So sometimes you have to kind of take like a leap of faith or like a recommendation from someone.
Homo Romantics as well. They're another one that don't have anything.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's just a case of like hearing from like friends of friends, or like getting like a dodgy little demo link, or just literally like
bootleg.
Yeah, Or just seeing them like support another band, you're like, oh, I've never heard you before. Like,
but
cool.
It's probably going to be alright if you're... I mean, Homo Romantics is a prime example, supporting Walt Disco, Ninth Wave. It's
exactly.
probably going to be a safe bet.
Exactly. So, like, you can tell, like, who they've supported or, like, who they're playing with. If they're getting booked by, like a local promoter in their hometown, you're like, okay, they're doing something. They're doing something right. So you can kind of, like, judge it. It also really helps, like, looking at their artwork. If their
quite a big... What do you mean, like, their Instagram and stuff, and, like, the way they present themselves?
Yeah, and, like, even if you don't have management or, like, a professional team, if you're, like, switched on enough to make yourself look like you have a following or make yourself look like neat and tidy, then I'm like, okay, you've got some kind of idea of what you're looking for.
That's what they kind of say now, isn't it? It's less about the music, and if you can make yourself look cool and not put out any music, you often end up getting quite a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, it's just like you can kind of trick people into thinking that you're much more trendy than you are. It's the same as like Tinder. It's like that's what bands have on Instagram now. It's like they're like, oh yeah, look at me, I've got like my leather trousers on, I'm ready, you should book me. And then everybody's like, oh, you want a gig? So yeah, you kind of have to like judge it on like how they look, if they look ready, I think.
The Queens of Noise, like social media, Instagram in particular, is something you've always done quite well by keeping them all like a consistent pattern, a consistent style. How long do you like spend deliberating over that and working away at that to get everything looking nice?
Oh, that's like, if I need to like de-stress, I will make content.
What, like posters and...
Yeah, I will just... If I'm stressed out about something, I had a bad day, I will come home and I will make posters.
That makes me more stressed about anything. I had a poster a couple of weeks back that I spent about 2 hours just going through different fonts and changing. It was stressing me out so much. I don't find that relaxing. I'm just like getting worked up about it.
I absolutely love it. It's like one of my favourite things to do, because you can just like sit until something, and then as soon as you see it and you're like, oh, that's right, that's exactly how I want it to look. Yeah, it's great. But I've got this really cool app that like shows me like how I can lay out my content so that I can like pre-plan where it's going to sit and then look at it. So like
on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, like so I can like look at how my newsfeed is going to look months in advance for when I post it.
Might ask you for that app after the podcast.
Yeah, like absolutely, like it's absolutely changed my life. You can like plan how things look. You can like look at different colors and like see how it all is going to like lay out. It's great.
When did you have that from the start of Queens of Noise though?
No, I actually only found that for when we came back for this year.
Because I quite like, you always do the thing where you have like three blocks across instead of just the one that looks nice.
Definitely.
Because I was scrolling through it today, like research. I was like, oh, that's all.
No, I wanted to make sure that the panels were like really big and obvious. So I think the easiest way to do that was to like spread it over like a whole row of Instagram rather than be like separate individual little posts. Yeah, totally. It's like as soon as you go on the page, you're like, oh, that's what the panels are. Cool.
Do you have to post in threes though? Because surely if you post one image on its own now, it'll upset everything.
Well, that's the thing, that you can post one on its own, but usually like if it's like 3 individual posts, they'll all correlate or they'll match even if it's separate. So you can like post one and then a couple days later another one, and then once the third one's up, all the rows kind of like nicely go back again. Yeah. You just have to have a couple days when it looks a little bit uneasy, and then it's fine again.
How important do you think it is having things like Instagram followers and Facebook likes? And I guess that's kind of your main marketing tool now. Yeah,
totally. I mean, like we have a website as well. We should probably eventually get a Twitter, but Twitter's my weak point. I love Twitter, but
Twitter's a weird middle ground. You don't know how informal to be on it or how formal to be.
I know. I think it's just one of those things. I'm kind of scared because I don't know what people expect you to have on your Twitter.
Yeah, the way that bands' Twitter is going to work, it seems to be the most chilled out of all the social media, where they kind of interact with fans and.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way that we use Facebook and Instagram, like Instagrams are kind of like less formal version, and our Facebook is like where you can find all the information in all the posts. Like there'll be tons of text, and then on the Instagram it's like, hey, you should come to this.
That's the thing on Instagram, everyone's scrolling, you just get to catch eyes quickly.
Yeah, totally. So you just use links for everything and just make it really short and snappy. But on Facebook you can kind of pile it in, because that's where you're going to get your older audience. So they're going to be like, where's the information for this? So I'm like, it's already included in the post, or you can find it on our website.
People still don't read though.
Yeah, they really don't.
Like, we did a thing, so obviously for our shows we don't do the tickets. We just its name on the door, and on every post and everything, or not, and every like when you buy it, it says there will be no physical tickets for this. Get them on the door, and you still get about 10 emails for every show saying I haven't received my tickets yet.
Every single time. We're the same for Queens of Noise, because obviously like it's not eco-friendly to have tickets for every single show. So like we're basically trying to keep our carbon footprint really low by not posting or printing anything that's not necessary.
Also an unnecessary expense.
Yeah, exactly. Like
tickets are expensive.
Save yourself money, but like it's just a thing of like we're trying to be as useful and easy access as we can. So like if you have a phone, then you're fine. Just bring your email, and
that's where most folk are going to find it anyway.
Yeah,
How do you feel about like posters then? Because like posters are kind of a weird thing. They are a good way of spreading awareness, but like you say, aren't very eco-friendly.
Yeah, so we're actually really good friends with a company called Wild and Kind. They're like a print company in Glasgow, but everything they do is eco-friendly. Recycled paper from like old money and like coffee beans, like you can use whatever they want. They've got like a risograph printer, which is actually like really cheap way of like printing, and like everything they do, they'll recycle it or reuse it for something or other. But yeah, they're amazing. So we try and get all our stuff printed ethically. If we need to print stuff, it'll be printed ethically.
What do you think is the kind of connection between like morals and business? How important do you think you should take your morals when it comes to business?
I think that depends on how you want your business model to be. But like the fact that we're a female-centric small company of 2 women who are still at uni and like are trying to make a difference anyway, I think for us it wouldn't really make sense for us to like
not be morally aware.
Yeah, of course. I think it's like a really important thing for us. Like we want to be the best we can be for such a small company, and the only thing we can do is keep getting better.
Yeah. What do you think are the kind of core values that are at the heart of Queens and Noise? If you had to kind of like sum it up in 3 values, what would you?
I'll actually check. So I've got like...
Do you have like a manifesto or anything? Or?
I made these really nice posts for Queens and Noise, actually, just before we came back, like before we announced anything, just like 3 things with like little...
I saw that on Instagram, actually, yeah.
So like the first one was like feminist, and I wrote like little bios for all of them. So this one says advocating social, political, legal and economic rights for women equal to those of men. So these were like, the words that I chose were like really topical and like exactly how I wanted people to see us.
Very precisely chosen as well.
Yeah, but like with our own definitions, not like the dictionary definitions. So
what
like,
it means to you.
Yeah, totally. So like the second one was inclusive. So including a great deal or encompassing everything concerned. When we say we're female-centric, it doesn't mean we're just for women. It means we're for everyone. It's just because there's no point in talking about feminine issues with other women because we already know they're there.
Yeah.
Like, it's for everyone. Like, if you're a white man, you can come along. You can benefit your career. You can meet loads of cool people. You have to be a nice person, and then we'll probably let you in.
Do you think it's more a generational thing as well, though? Do you think it is getting better now with...
It's moving in the right direction. It's definitely going...
The conversation's happening.
Yeah, exactly. As long as people are talking about it, it'll keep getting better.
Yeah. When did that kind of begin, though? When do you think the difference has kind of started?
Oh, that's a good question. I think...
So I feel like 20 years ago, I don't know if it was...
I know, I think 20 years ago it probably was spoken about, but in a way that it was women talking to other women, and it wasn't getting anywhere. But now I think people are starting to realise that if they're not inclusive, or they're not trans friendly, or they're not open to like any gender being allowed in their space, then they're 10 years too late.
Yeah. I think social media has helped with that as well, because people are now open to so much more scrutiny.
Yeah, totally. Like, people are definitely starting to call out big businesses and be like, this is not okay.
What do you think is the biggest issue facing music at the moment, and how do we fix it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think one of the main things is still equal pay.
I mean, that's kind of across the board as well. That's not just in music.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that's one of the things. It's like people kind of forget that music still faces that. So like, even if there's like heads of companies that are female or male, they might not necessarily get the same wage. Why
does that happen though? I don't understand. It's just been grandfathered in, but I don't really get it and why it's still a thing. Because it's such an easy thing to change. Just what you do is, if someone's getting paid $2,000 more, you take $1,000 away from their salary, give $1,000 to the other person, then it's equal.
Exactly.
Sorted.
I think it's just one of those things that's just kind of being ignored and like pushed under the rug. But I think that's a case of like certain women maybe don't progress in music, not necessarily because they're not getting jobs. I think that's also an issue, but they might not take a job because they're not getting paid enough to do it. Like me and Hannah do Queens and Noise for free because we're self-employed. Like, we don't make any money from it, and I'm like, that's okay because I love it, and it's only the second year. Like,
it's a passion project.
Yeah, totally. Like,
you're going to keep building it until it gets to the point where hopefully.
Yeah, I'd love to get to the point where we can actually pay ourselves to work 6 months of the year. But it's also, I think for us, it's really important for us to be able to pay as many people as we can. Like, our speakers are incredibly generous, and they did it for free. We offered them travel and dinner expenses, but we couldn't afford to pay them. And we still can't afford to pay them because we don't have any funding. Yeah. We try and pay our bands a fair price. We offer as much stuff as we can. And if we make enough profit, every single penny of it will go back to the people who have been like kind enough to give us their time. And I think it's just a case of that needs to be kind of the attitude carried across the board, rather than like oh, I could get a woman for this job and pay her half the salary. Like, it should be a case of, you're just as talented and I want to pay you more.